Cartoons, cartoons, cartoons. You grew up loving them in theaters and on television. Rekindle your love for Betty Boop, Felix the Cat, Bugs Bunny, Popeye, Superman, and all their animated friends. Make new friends with Bosco, Colonel Bleep, and the Funny Company Gang. The laughter never stops on ComedyMX channels. So return with us now to those golden days of yesteryear.
New Year's Day in Persia was the most celebrated day of the year. Wonderful shows were prepared to entertain the king and the prince. At the end of the program, a lone figure stood before the king with a beautiful horse. Your Majesty, I beg thee, look upon this wondrous animal. It is not real, but an ingenious machine that will carry me anywhere I wish, just by turning a peg.
Well, if true, it is indeed a wonderful animal. What is the price?
It is not for sale, sire, but I would exchange it for a portion of your kingdom.
Well, for such a trade, I must know more about this horse. My son, Prince Brahma, will test the animal for me.
The owner started to show the prince how to control the horse. But before he could tell him all, Prince Brahma turned the peg and away he flew. He doesn't know how to bring it back.
It's a trick to kidnap the prince. Throw this man in jail until my son returns.
As the horse's owner was taken away, the king scanned the skies for the flying prince, but he was out of sight. High above the clouds flew the enchanted horse with the frightened prince. He traveled hundreds of miles, but he couldn't control the animal. He twisted the peg, but the horse continued to fly upward and onward. At last he found a small knob behind the animal's ear. He gave it a turn, and the enchanted horse started to descend. As he came closer to earth, the prince saw he was in a strange kingdom. I will be in danger if I'm found, but I can't control the horse. The amazing animal carried Prince Brahma toward a palace courtyard. After I land, I'll turn the peg, and maybe it will fly away again, perhaps right back to my own country. So intent was the prince on the controls that he didn't watch the archway through which the horse flew. He was knocked off the horse into a courtyard. No one saw him, and while everyone crowded about the mysterious horse, Prince Brahma hid in a room. After studying the horse, the king gave out an order.
This is a most unusual animal. I shall give it as a gift to Princess Serena. Perhaps then she'll be my bride. Take the animal to the stable until I'm ready to give it to her.
Prince Brahma could hear the king's orders, and now he realized his chance of escaping was gone. Then he heard someone sobbing. He discovered that he was in the room of Princess Serena. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. She looked up and saw the prince staring at her.
Who are you?
I'm Prince Brahma. I come from far away. Don't let them know I'm here.
Oh, did my father send you to rescue me from King Agmir?
No, but perhaps I can help. Tell me how you came to this place. Princess Serena then told Prince Brahma the story of how she was captured by the powerful King Agmir. She must marry him or be put to death. I have an idea. If you pretend to be ill, the king will have to postpone any decision until you're well. I'll hide out in the city and return when the time is right. The princess agreed, and she acted as if she were in a trance. And soon the whole palace was alarmed. Word got to the king about her illness.
Send for the best doctors in the kingdom.
Each doctor who came tried to cure the young girl, and each failed. King Agmir sent out a call to physicians from other lands. One day, a strange doctor came to the palace.
I can cure the princess, but I must attend her alone.
When the doctor was alone in the sick girl's room, he spoke to her. Princess Serena, arise, for it is time for us to leave.
Prince Brahma. It is you?
Yes, Serena. But we must play the game for a while yet. Now we will see the king. Sire, you see she is almost cured already. Now, some special, unusual gift from you may complete the treatment.
How fortunate. I have been saving a most unique horse to give to the princess.
So the enchanted horse was brought to the palace.
It's beautiful. May I sit in the saddle?
Of course, my dear, it's yours.
Prince Prama helped Princess Serena up on the horse. Then he turned to the king. You see, sire, she is cured. Now for my fee.
Of course, good doctor. What is your wish?
I wish the princess myself. He jumped behind Serena.
Never. She is mine. Guards, seize him.
But the guards gaped in wonder as the horse rose from the floor and soared away. Out over the fields and mountains, the prince and princess flew. After many hours, Prince Prama looked below and saw the palace of his father. The enchanted horse had brought them home. The king was delighted to see his lost son and welcomed the princess. Prince Prama told his father that Serena had consented to be his bride. The happy king released the owner of the horse and granted him a part of the kingdom in exchange for the animal. Later, when Prince Prama and Princess Serena were married, the king gave them the mechanical animal as a wedding gift. The young people rode away to have many more wonderful adventures with the enchanted horse.
Advertised in Boston, New York, and Buffalo, 500 brave Americans a whaling for to go, singing, blow your winds in the morning and blow your winds high-ho, clear away the running gear and blow, blow, blow.
Well, it was in the winter of 1818 that we set out to hunt the great sperm whale. Our ship was named the Globe of Nantucket, and our captain was George Gardner of the same. It was a chill and bitter day when the command came, all hands forward, man the capstan, jump to it there. So we bent to the handspikes, and slowly the anchor rose, while the men sang,
all on the bowling, our bully ship's a-rolling. All on the bowling, ho!
Sail swung round, filled to the wind, and we cut through the dark, icy waters. We was fitted for a 2 years' voyage. Think of that, you landlubbers. 2 years at sea, in the hard, dangerous work of chasing the whale.
It's now we're out to sea, my boys. The wind comes on to blow. One half the watch is sick on deck and the other half's below, singing, blow your winds in the morning and blow your winds high-ho, clear away the running gear and blow, blow, blow.
And we all thought of how rich we'd be. For a ship full of oil and bone, it had many markets. Oil for lamps, for lubricating, for medicine. That was the wealth the whalers brought home to America. And on we sailed, into the southern seas, and down to Cape Horn. Week after week we cruised, looking for our prey. But not a whale was to be found. They'd all been killed or driven from these grounds.
Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
We waited to see what Captain Gardner would do.
Put your helmet starboard, Mr. Whipple, if you please. Aye, sir. Helmet starboard.
His decision was made. We were steering westward into the Pacific. Westward into the unknown waters that no whaler had ever ventured on before.
We'll haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. They tell you of the clipper ships a-going in and out, and say you'll take 500 sperm before you're 6 months out, singing, blow you into the morning and blow you in hi-ho, clear away the running gear and blow, blow, blow.
All day, the man in the crow's nest, he watched the water until his eyes ached. The rest of us was at our work on the ship. And then, one sultry day, came the cry from the masthead, the cry for which we'd been waiting.
Hark and lows! Hark and lows! She breaches! Hark! She breaches! Far away! On the leaving! Bravo!
And in a moment we were in the water, rowing for 'em, straining at the oars like
A strong stroke together!
And then, as we neared our whale, his great humpback rising out of the water before us, the mate in our boat cried to the harpooner.
Have no break!
The harpooner jumped up, balancing his long spear.
Give it to him!
And at the cry, the harpoon shoots out, and the whale is caught. Up goes his tail, and he sounds into the sea, dragging the line with him.
What's the line?
We dashed water on the line with our hats. Now the mate stands ready with his lance. Up comes the whale again to the surface, dragging our boat.
Haul in! Haul in!
As we draw nearer to him, the mate darts out his lance. The whale is ours!
And then we caught the whale, oh, the whale, oh, the whale, oh, and then we caught the whale with our quick harpoons. The whale, oh, how quiet was his tail, oh, and then we caught the whale with our quick harpoons. And then we caught the whale, oh, and then we caught the whale, oh.
Well, day after day we sighted whales, for the waters were thick with them. And when we turned homeward, we knew that we had opened new ground. And we brought back more oil than any other Nantucket ship before us. Yes, we had opened the way for all to follow. Ships that would one day cross all the oceans and open up the whole world. All hands up anchor for home!
And now that our old ship is full, our cat so great and grand, we'll head on all our stunsails and sail for Yankee land, singing, blow you into the morning and blow you in hi-ho, clear away the running gear and blow, blow, blow. When we get home, our ship made fast, and we get through our sailing, a winding glass around we'll pass, we're finished with our whaling, singing, blow you into the morning and blow you in hi-ho, clear away the running gear and blow, blow, blow.
Do you recognize that music? That's right. It was the trumpet, the king's trumpet. And here's a wonderful story about that music. In a faraway land, there one time lived a shepherd king who owned many flocks and had many shepherds who tended sheep for him. One day, this king wanted to call all of the shepherds together. So he sent a runner for them. When they arrived, the king spoke to them and said, "Pay heed, ye shepherds. Henceforth, when I call ye, I will no longer send a runner. For look, I have fashioned for myself an instrument made from the horn of a ram. With it I can make many tones. So hark, shepherds. If you should hear me playing this, come home at once. This instrument we will call a shofar." Soon, each shepherd made his own shofar, and each made up his own call. They all made a set of calls so they could speak to each other. And while the sheep grazed, one could often hear the call of the shofar echoing from hilltop to hilltop. Later, when the king became mighty, he had an army, and the shofar was used to call men to war. As time went on, men learned to work with metals. Soon, they found that horns could be made of brass and gold and silver. These horns could play many more tones than could the ram horn. So the kings had trumpets made to play their special calls. They also found that if they made a trumpet long, they played low notes like this. And when they made the trumpet short, they played high notes like this. Now, in England, there lived a king named Richard the Lionhearted. And when he made ready to go forth with his army of knights, he would call his band of trumpeters and say, "Ho, master of the trumpet, sound off." And the master of the trumpet would reply, "Aye, my lord. Trumpeters, prepare. Sound the tucket." Then, as the king and his knights marched into the great cathedral for prayer, the trumpets could be heard playing music like this. Early in the 18th century, a wise musician said, "We need many trumpets because each one plays only a few notes." Now, let me see. If I make a trumpet with a piece of metal that moves up and down in a pipe and put a hole in the side of that piece of metal, I can use it to connect the different pipes to my trumpet. When I push it down, air will go through a long pipe and make a low sound. And when I let go, the air will go through a short pipe and make a high sound. Now, he had a trumpet with a valve that played many tones. Later, trumpet makers built a trumpet and put 3 valves in it. Musicians found that they could play all of the notes in the scale. One day, a musician brought his trumpet to the king and said, "Sire, I present to you a new invention, a 3-valve trumpet." The king looked at the instrument curiously and said to the musician, "Play that instrument, musician, and let me hear what it can do." So the musician raised the trumpet to his lips and played a tune like this. The king was very pleased, and the musician was greatly rewarded.
Once in the forest on the shores of the great lake we call Lake Michigan lived an Ottawa Indian boy. The boy had a name, but everyone had forgotten it. They called him Lazy Bones, but they said it with a smile, for the boy wasn't really lazy. It was just that he was always watching, always wondering by himself. Sometimes he would watch the women pounding corn into meal. Sometimes the boy watched the men before a hunt making arrowheads out of flint. But the boy didn't help them. Instead, he went by himself, far into the woods, always quiet, always watching. He saw where the red squirrel hid its nuts. He saw where the deer drank and where the wolverine left his big paw marks. He had one friend, a little girl named Gray Fawn, and he told her stories about the woods.
The woods and I understand each other. The trees are my friends. The birds and bees are my friends, and the animals come at my...
One morning, Gray Fawn went to gather berries, and by late afternoon she had not yet returned. The men of the tribe found her moccasins near the lake, but they didn't find Gray Fawn. The chief, her father, cried angrily, "She must have been captured by the Saginaws." The men painted their faces and prepared for war. While the men prepared for war, the boy called Lazy Bones went to the shore where Gray Fawn's moccasins had been found. He said to himself, "If Gray Fawn had been captured, she would have dropped her berry basket. I don't think she was captured. I think she took off her moccasins to go wading." He looked along the shore until he found a footprint in the mud. He said, "She came out here and couldn't find her moccasins." He sang,
My woodland friends, tell me where is Gray Fawn? Which way did she go? Oh, tell me, please, that you know, and your signs I will follow to her. Oh, Gray Fawn and I are your friends.
When the boy sang the song, a porcupine that had been gnawing young willow shoots stopped and stared at him. The boy said, "I think Gray Fawn went this way to gather willow splints for a basket." He looked, and he found places where the willow shoots had been broken. He followed the trail among the willows into the forest.
My woodland friends, tell me where is Gray Fawn?
A squirrel ran down a tree trunk and stopped, his nose pointing. The boy looked and saw where Gray Fawn's bare feet had disturbed the leaves.
Which way did she go?
A rabbit jumped out of some bushes, and the boy looked and saw where Gray Fawn had pushed through. He thought, "She knows she is lost and is too frightened to look where she's walking."
Oh, tell me, please, that you know, and your sign I will follow to her. Gray Fawn, Gray Fawn.
Just then a flock of crows began to scold angrily. The boy went to the noise, for he knew that crows will scold when they're disturbed by someone who has no weapons. There, under a tree, he found Gray Fawn. The boy took Gray Fawn by the hand, and they set out for home.
See, there.
And when the men saw the children, they laughed with relief and joy. And the chief, Gray Fawn's father, put his hand on the boy's head and said, "Now I will give this boy a name. I will call him Little Hawk, for he has the sharpest eyes of all the Ottawas."